¿Qué pasa YouTube? 6fthax here. Have for you guys today, you guessed it, another Wi-Fi battle. Now of course if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to hammer the like button down below. And to answer the question of the day, guys, thank you to everybody who likes and who comments. Y'all are definitely the real MVPs. Now this match was against a fellow subscriber and a follower on Twitch. Now going into this match, I really hated seeing that Decidui, because Decidui do tend to carry defog, and the team that I'm bringing is based around stealth rocks and spikes. So if I can get rid of that Decidui, I can hopefully get on my hazards, or even this Crobat could potentially have defog, which honestly I'm not too sure if Crobat does get defog before pre-bank, but he's going to be leading off with this Crobat as I end up leading off with my Jolteon. And turn 1, I find out that this man is absolutely insane because he stays in against my Jolteon, risking the speed tie and winning it and U-turning into his Magnezone. As I Volt Switch into my Necrozma, I can find out if this Magnezone is going to be Scarf or Specs, and because he did outspeed me, he is definitely a Scarf Magnezone. I can take this opportunity to go ahead and get on my Stealth Rocks, as he is going to Volt Switch into his Decidui. Now, I'm not entirely too concerned about this Decidui. Yes, it is a little bit annoying that he will be able to defog, but I should be able to pressure him, hopefully, and eventually beat him down to the point where I can still get on my hazards mid or late game, as I'm going to go for the Thunder Wave, expecting him to just go for the defog. This way he's got a chance of getting paralyzed later in the match, and I can take advantage of that. But he pulls out the Swords Dance, which I was not expecting, and normally when I see Swords Dance or Nasty Plot Decidui, they sometimes carry Baton Pass. So after seeing SD, I thought that maybe he would have the Baton Pass, so that could be a little bit of a problem. So predicting him to want to try and Baton Pass here, I'm actually going to switch into my Golisopod, because my Golisopod has the red card. So unfortunately he does end up getting fully paralyzed here, and because he's got Swords Dance, I'm pretty positive that he doesn't have the defog. So I'm going to take this chance to get on my spikes, which is going to really help me out to wear down his team and give me a pretty good advantage in this match, as he does have the Baton Pass. Now if I'm not mistaken, Baton Pass also Baton passes out the speed drop from paralysis. So this Crobat isn't max speed anymore. He kind of has a speed of him being paralyzed, but he's not paralyzed, if you get what I mean. So I go for the Aqua Jet in hopes to put him in range of where Brave Bird Recoil would have knocked him out, but it turns out that Crobat does get defog pre-Pokebank, and he's going to be able to get rid of my hazards, which really sucks because I was able to get them up, and now I have to try and get them up again later in this match, as I foolishly go for an Aqua Jet. My brain was screaming, go for spikes, but I kind of jumped the gun, and I went for Aqua Jet, thinking that he would still try and stay in and go for the Brave Bird, but no, he still has use for his Crobat later in the match. As we're both going to switch out here, he doubles out into his Magnezone as I bring in my Jolteon. Now, I make a really dumb play here, and this is what I mean by me saying that I'm not completely focused on the battle when I'm streaming, because normally I battle by myself when I'm not streaming. I'm not used to streaming and battling, so I overlooked the fact that regular Jolteon still outspeeds Scarf Magnezone, and instead of going for the Volt Switch to chip down the Magnezone, I just hard switched directly into my Necrozma, which again was just a really dumb play on my part, as he brought in his Crobat. I thought that he would try and go for the taunt here, which is why I'm actually going to be aggressive and go for the Psychic, but he actually ends up switching back into his Decidui, which still takes a pretty good chunk of damage from this move. And because I don't see that he's got lefties or Lumberry, I'm thinking that maybe this could be a Z move. Actually, no, he does have leftovers. What? Okay, I must have gone insane. But he does turn out to have leftovers, and he's not Z moves, so that's really good for me because I should be able to live any move that he wants to go for this turn. Plus, there was a possibility that he would have predicted me to go for the Moonlight and maybe try and Swords Dance again, but no, he ends up making the aggressive play and going for the Leaf Blade, as I am able to live because I do have a lot of HP investment in this Necrozma. I can now take this following turn to go ahead and go for the Moonlight, literally not worried about anything that this Decidui wants to go for, unless he does try to Swords Dance again. And even if he does SD, anything that's going to be brought in is going to have the speed drop from the paralysis, so it's really not that big of an issue. Plus, I still have the red card on my Golisopod, so he's going to end up going for the Baton Pass, predicting me to just go for the safe Moonlight, as he's going to be able to Baton Pass into his Magnezone. This honestly is not even a problem, because since he's not Specs, I can definitely take any hits that this Magnezone wants to go for, and eventually Psychic will be able to pressure him and beat him down. So he's actually going to end up switching out here into his Decidueye, maybe thinking that I would switch into my Jolteon, but I ended up just going for the Moonlight to see what the Magnezone wanted to lock himself into, whether it be the Flash Cannon or the Volt Switch. I would still be brought back up to near or full HP, so it wasn't a bad play there for me to have gone for the Moonlight, as much like earlier, I can honestly stay in against this Decidueye, but expecting him to try and Swords Dance, I'm going to switch directly into my Gyarados because this is Mega Gyarados. So if worst comes to worst, I can Mega Evolve and then just knock him out with a Stab Crunch, but he ends up going for the Leaf Blade, which even at -1, that did a bit more damage than I would have liked, because I was hoping to maybe try and set up in the face of this Decidueye if I was able to force him out, but at this point I'm just going to be aggressive and go for the Crunch, as he is just going to end up going for the Baton Pass, and because I didn't Mega Evolve, I'm not able to knock him out. And the reason I didn't Mega Evolve was because I want to save my Intimidate potentially for that Sharpedo or for the Decidueye to reduce the amount of attack boost he can Baton Pass. So he is going to end up bringing in the Magnezone here as I switch back into my Necrozma. I can live any 2 hits that this thing wants to go for, but he gets the special defense drop. Now that actually kind of matters, because I would have been able to just stay in here and gone for the Moonlight until I was close to max HP, but because of the Spadef drop, he probably has a chance to 2-hit KO me with Flash Cannon. So predicting him to just Flash Cannon again, I'm going to switch back into my Gyarados and unfortunately have to take some unnecessary damage, which could play a role later in this battle. So I am going to take this chance to go for the Dragon Dance, very positive in the fact that he wouldn't stay in, obviously risking me setting up in front of his face. He does hard switch directly into his Milotic, and this is where I really wished that I had Substitute instead of Earthquake on this Mega Gyarados, because I would have been able to get up a Substitute here, and there's no way Milotic breaks my sub in 1 hit, which means I could have got up to +3, and then a +3 I just sweep his entire team, or even at +2 I could have swept his entire team. But now I'm going to be forced to go for the +1 Crunch, as he turns out to have the Dragon Tail, which is actually a little bit better because this way I don't have to risk him potentially burning me with the Scald, and of all things he Dragon Tails me into my Necrozma, which is really bad because now he can go for the Recover or go for the Rest, and I'm going to be forced to go for the Moonlight or make an aggressive switch into my Jolteon, predicting him to just recover up, which is what I do end up doing. I switch into Jolteon expecting him to want to go for the Recover, but oddly enough he switches out into the Decidueye. I'm not really sure why he did that. Maybe he doesn't have Recover, maybe he's got Rest, which I guess makes some sense, but if he had Recover then that definitely would have been his best chance to go for it, and then he would have also been able to rest up, although I guess he would have had to play around with Sleep Talk turns later in the match. Either way though, I'm able to knock out the Decidueye, and because I went for the hidden power, he feels comfortable in bringing in his Nilago, and I am actually Expert Belt Jolteon, so I will be able to go for the Volt Switch here on now into my Necrozma, which should be able to live anything that this thing wants to go for, and then I can go for the Moonlight, but there was the more likely chance of him just trying to get up Stealth Rocks to even the playing field, which he does end up doing. Now if I can find some way to get up a layer of Spikes, I will be in an advantage in this match because I'll have Rocks and Spikes up, as where he will only have Rocks up. So he doesn't want to stay in and try to get up a layer T-Spikes, knowing that I will be able to knock him out with the Psychic. So he's going to switch directly into his Magnezone, which does not take the Psychic as well as I thought it would. And this is where me not Volt Switching earlier in the match against the Magnezone kind of matters, because I would have been able to knock him out with a second Psychic here after being able to take this Thunderbolt. As I go for the Psychic, in hindsight I could have gone for the Moonlight, and I honestly think that would have been the better play for me to do instead of trying to chip down the Magnezone here, because then I would have been able to just get a free switch into my Jolteon this turn and still got the Volt Absorb boost, because he is going to end up staying in here and giving me back some HP, which is actually going to end up really helping me out in a couple turns. So I'm in a pretty good spot right now to where I can honestly just click Thunderbolt and either knock out this Magnezone or 2-hit KO anything that he wants to switch in. So I'm able to knock out the Magnezone, as in comes the Crobat, and I'm hoping that this time I can win the speed tie, but no, he wins it again, but I am able to live the cross poison, and in return I will be able to put him down with the Thunderbolt, which is really nice because now I don't have to worry about this Crobat defogging away my Stealth Rocks, as unfortunately he gets a free switch into this Sharpedo. Now, throughout the beginning and middle of this match, I was not at all worried about Sharpedo because I still have my Mimikyu in the back with its disguise. And as long as I don't get flinched by the waterfall, I can definitely knock out Sharpedo with my Play Rough. So I'm going to switch it to my Golisopod here, as he's going to end up going for the Protect and then trying to go for the Double Protect, as I foolishly go for the Liquidation. In hindsight, definitely should have gone for a layer of Spikes there, but again, streaming, not really focusing on the battle, so I foolishly go for the Liquidation. And like I said, I do have the red card on this Golisopod, which means even though he will be able to possibly bring me below emergency exit range, I will still be able to force him out with the red card. As he does end up bringing me below emergency exit, I will be able to force him out, which is really nice, as I force him into the Milotic, and this now gives me the opportunity to bring in my Tapu Bulu, which is going to allow me to pick up a KO because I knock out this Milotic, I knock out the Sharpedo, and I definitely knock out the Nihilego with Wood Hammer in grassy terrain. Even though I'm not banded, I'm just adamant assault vested, still Wood Hammer hits like an absolute truck. So I'm honestly not really concerned about what he wants to do here. And the more that I think about this play, I definitely could have just gone for a Horn Leech instead of trying to go for the Wood Hammer to guarantee a KO, because I'm pretty sure I still would have been able to knock out the Nihilego even if he wanted to switch it in. Plus, it also meant that I wouldn't have to take this recoil damage from Wood Hammer. Now, at this point in the match, I had actually forgot that he had the Nihilego. And this is actually really bad, because even though I'm up 6-2, he can still win this battle with Sharpedo if he is Jolly Sharpedo. Jolly Mega Sharpedo, sorry. So he brings in the Nihilego, and I'm going to be forced to sack something off, and it's going to be my Juliet, which unfortunately lost 2 speed ties and was put in range of where rocks were able to knock her out. Now, I can get a switch into my Mimikyu, which is the only thing that I have to take a hit from this Nihilego, but I was hoping that maybe my Necrozma could live, and then that way I could go for the Psychic or maybe go for the Thunder Wave and try to Moonlight up to an amount of HP to where I could live a crunch from the Mega Sharpedo. But no, he knocks me out. Thankfully, it doesn't really matter because, like I said, I have Mimikyu with my Disguise, but I wanted to save it for Mega Sharpedo, which is unfortunately gonna have my Disguise broke. My Disguise is gonna be broken here, unfortunately, by the I almost said an improper sentence there, but my Disguise is gonna get broken here, as I'm going to go for the Never-Ending Nightmare because I didn't want to risk Shadow Claw plus Shadow Sneak not knocking him out after grassy terrain HP recovery. So Never-Ending Nightmare will definitely be able to knock out the Nihilego at the amount of HP that he is at, and at this point his last mon is the Mega Sharpedo, which I'm hoping and praying is not Jolly, because I am Jolly, so I can outspeed him if he is adamant. So he ends up bringing in the Sharpedo here, and this is the moment of truth. He unfortunately is Jolly and is gonna knock me out with the crunch, and I only have one last hope. I have not seen his final move, which if it is not Ice Fang, I can still win, but there is a chance that he does have the Ice Fang, so it's really up in the air at this point. And he turns out to not have the Ice Fang, and he later told me that his final move was a Psychic Fang, as I'm able to live the waterfall. Luckily, don't get flinched. I will be able to just nuke him with this Wood Hammer and pull out the victory there. And it's kind of crazy to think that I was up 6 Pokemon throughout this entire match until like the end there, where Mega Sharpedo could have potentially brought it back and won him the battle. So I really thought this was a solid match. Hopefully y'all did enjoy it. If you did, guys, make sure to hammer the like button down below. Answer the question of the day. Check out Sharpedo and subscribe to see more content. With that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. So later, everybody.